We're back. I'm back. What is going on,
back.
everyone? Welcome to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, back from my 3 trips in, 4.5 weeks here. Portland, Sonoma first, Portland second. Just got back from London, flew into Philly Friday night. It's a pleasure to be back here on the show, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going?
Doing all right, Ben, and I'm sure I can guarantee that I have more sleep than you do currently right now. So, good day, mate. Welcome back to, that's the wrong country. Welcome back to America and another Motor Tuesday. We do those from time to time here in the summer months.
Yeah, well, as if all my travels weren't enough, one of my good friends got married yesterday and probably could have made it back by 7 p.m. In time for a show, but didn't know how long the ceremony and reception were going to last. So I said, let's just play it on the safer side and do a Tuesday show. Although I did offer you guys, if you wanted to go ahead and find a fill-in for me and do it yesterday, I would have been more than happy to let you do that, because once again, feels like deja vu from the last time I was on this Encore show here. We have a Connor Zilisch win. We have a Corey Heim win. We have Austin Hill under scrutiny once again for an incident that was probably avoidable. So not much has changed.
Things never change. Yeah. Some things don't change.
The more they stay the same. And yet, of course, we have a lot to talk about from that one race alone. And even more that happened after the checkered flag. And unfortunate that it happened. Fortunate, however, that it was not worse. Before we get into that, we'll talk about the battle that ensued between the guy who won on Saturday and the guy who ended up winning on Sunday. But before we do any of that, as always, I want to give a special shout out to our Patreon investors, Colin, Deschelle, Mark, Robin, David, and especially Matthew. He helps us out through Patreon. He helps us out through guest appearances on the air. Thank you, Matthew, for filling in for me last week. And thank you to everybody who's supported us on Patreon or buy me a coffee or through YouTube Super Chat. And if you like what you see this evening, you can consider becoming a regular investor through our Patreon. Or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead here at the Grid Network, you can follow the links to all our pages here in the description box below. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you know how social media works. The button is over here, over there, somewhere around the live chat. You know how to find it. It is much appreciated and helps us continue to pay the bills here and expand our coverage. If you like what you saw from Joe Samaniego this weekend, we'll talk about INDY NXT here a little bit later on in the show as well. You want to make on-site coverage here from the Grid Network a little bit more frequent of an occurrence here for us. It goes a long way towards that as well, so we very much appreciate it. Now, like I said, let's start with the Xfinity Series race, and not a surprise up here, Connor Zilisch taking yet another win here, but it was a close battle between him and Shane van Gisbergen once again until the two came together in what I think most people saw as a racing incident. Unfortunately for SVG, he caught the worst end of that by far. Want to give a shout out to my good friend Ethan Smith. Took a fantastic photograph of SVG's impact with the wall. Tremendous amount of damage, and I have to say I was kind of surprised seeing that. I thought he was scrubbing off quite a bit of speed. Didn't think the impact was going to be as massive as it was, but ultimately ended his day. He had to settle for a 31st place finish. Obviously not indicative of what he's capable of on the road courses, as he showed once again with a 10-plus second margin of victory on Sunday. But had to sting for Saturday. Brandon, what was your take on the incident between these two road course stars here? Do you think it was just hard racing? Do you think it was inevitable eventually that it would come to something like this with how closely they've been battling on the road courses in the Xfinity Series this year?
Yeah, two titans like that. You knew when you come to the road course and though they're both on the track, it's going to be end up being between those two. And so it had to come down to rubbing against each other there, coming in through the second to final corner. And SVG and Zilisch, it does not surprise me at all that they made contact with each other. And I saw that as a racing incident, and really just impressed by how much these two have dominated the road course calendar on not just the Xfinity side, but the Cup side as well. No matter when they come in, they're always going to be who's going to beat them is always the headline coming in, and they've solidified themselves, both of them, in 2025 as we are the drivers are going to have to beat. And Zilisch, if he can just keep himself from being injured, he can stay in this and fight for a championship. Just we'll get to that later. But man, it's just luck has just not been on his side here in 2025 from one thing to the other.
Yeah, and I've heard the radio communications. I think he was obviously very apologetic. I don't think he was intentional like we had a couple of weeks ago with the Austin Hill situation, and more on that as well, because that came up once again later in this race. But again, I think it reminds me a lot of what we had in F1 a couple of years ago with Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen trading off wins and that fierce championship battle. Obviously, Zilisch and SVG aren't fighting for a championship, but they are fighting for road course wins, really trading them off here in this series this season. And it just seemed like when you're fighting somebody that closely and that hard for that long, eventually it's going to result in some sort of incident or contact. And that was the case that we saw this weekend here at Watkins Glen. But again, no malicious intent there. Obviously, the two of them are teammates. I think SVG is a smart enough racer to see what he would have seen when he watched the replay back, and Zilisch, even at such a young age, is the same way. We should mention, of course, Brandon, you hinted at it, scary situation after Zilisch took the checkered flag in victory lane, tried to get out of his car to start celebrating with his team, and ended up slipping on, I think, his window net as he was standing up on the car door, and took a very scary fall, ended up being taken out on a stretcher. There was some speculation that, he might have some injuries that came from that. And we did get the report eventually that it was a broken collarbone. He said he had surgery on that today and is hopefully going to be on the mend sooner rather than later. But again, we're very thankful but that was not worse. I had stepped out at this point, wasn't watching the broadcast live. So I was just trying to gather the updates from social media. I know some people in our Slack chat here at Grid were suggesting maybe NASCAR should take a look at policing how drivers celebrate in victory lane. Almost surprised that something like this hadn't happened sooner with some of the celebrations that we've seen, and suggesting that maybe NASCAR needs to step in here. Brandon, do you see it that way, or do you think that this was just a one-off incident? Drivers will police themselves now and be a little bit more careful. I mean, we saw SVG certainly do that on Sunday. He just climbed out of a car pretty nonchalantly. Do you think that NASCAR, it's worth them taking a look at stepping in here, or that it's a one-time thing, and we can be thankful Zilisch wasn't more injured than he was, but probably doesn't need to be policed in any official capacity?
I don't think you're going to have a chance at policing drivers when they're in the middle of celebrating week after week. It just good luck doing that. I guess you can throw penalties their way, but that's going to be insane. That would be something that would get fans riled up even more. I mean, we've already I heard it on track today on Sirius XM. They talked to Eric Jones about it, his take on it, and he mentioned the fact that they did leave the window net piece out instead of back inside the car. And he said normally that something to the effect of normally that wouldn't happen, and he doesn't think that needs to be something that needs to be enforced moving forward as a rule. But it was worth noting that Shane van Gisbergen maybe was a little more cautious, a little more aware of his surroundings whenever he was maybe trying to get up on the car on Sunday. But I don't know. You're not going to stop drivers from doing whatever they want to do. Now, you might, after this, I mean, that was don't get me wrong, that was a very scary and potentially could have been a much worse fall there for Connor Zilisch. But I don't think you're going to get drivers across the board to not, tell them, oh, don't get up don't get up in your car now. Don't get up on the window. That's not going to happen. Drivers are going to celebrate how they want, and they'll pay for the consequences, whatever happens. But I don't think I really don't think NASCAR is going to be able to. For one thing, I don't think it's their place to get into something as minute as that, and also I don't think they're going to have a good chance at enforcing it either. It's kind of like little extra things like having TV making the victory lane interview first be up on the start finish line and then victory lane, or you're getting into the weeds of things that are really going to ruffle feathers.
Well, I can't help but think back to about 20 years ago, and when they tried this, there were some Gatorade athlete drivers that would knock the Powerade bottles off of the roof of their cars in Victory Lane. And NASCAR, I think a couple of times, brought these gates that went over the driver's side windows to keep them from climbing up on their cars or from reaching onto the roof of their cars to knock them over, or whatever the case may be. Every time they've tried it, it hasn't stuck. And I guess, nowadays it's maybe even less of an issue since TV doesn't normally show that part of a celebration. The winner's interview is almost always on the front stretch nowadays anyway. So I think, again, it can be a good reminder to all the drivers, like Denver says here in the chat, SVG showing Connor how to climb out of the car properly here. Like, of course, be careful, but I don't think you can police celebrations in that way. I don't think that's, I think that's more, that could cause more trouble than it's worth in that regard. I mean, we've had,
are you going to dock a driver points for celebrating in the wrong way?
Exactly. Yeah. Go ask Vidal Jr. fans how they feel about how he celebrated Talladega in 2004 and what that did to his
cost him a title potentially.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it was well over 25 points, but you could maybe argue it was a momentum shift and maybe got in his head a little bit. But, again, I think you start going down that path. I certainly don't think we need points penalties here, but it might be just remind the drivers of the next drivers meeting, like, hey, this is an example of the risk you take if you're not careful here. But I don't think that we need to make a rule of it, like you can't stand on top of the car or whatever when you're celebrating. I think that would be a step too far. That's a risk that you take in celebrating that I think you can't police in that regard.
That's the type of thing that will police itself. Stupid will police itself. It doesn't need any help.
Yeah. Although I did like, I think both Jim Zilisch and Connor's senses of humor are fully intact. They've been having some fun on social media with their updates. And I think the wristband that Connor was given this afternoon, and Jim saying that, another incident that he had was only the second most embarrassing thing his kid has ever done now. So they're in good spirits, and they'll have some time to recover here, hopefully. If a waiver is necessary, I know, again, we were talking about this in our chat earlier this afternoon. There's the idea that maybe he would start the race at Daytona, just hang out in the back, and put a relief driver in after stage one, after the first caution, just to ensure that he doesn't get caught in a big wreck or anything like that. Although, there's risk in that too. You never know that you're not going to cut a right front tire and then go straight into the wall, I guess. So, there's no way you could be 100% safe, but you could try to mitigate the risk in that regard if he's not fully ready. But, Brandon, to your point, you saw what the first injury did to him, right? He hasn't had a race outside the top five since. And if that's any indication, he might be on his way to having a 1992 Davey Allison type season where, he keeps getting knocked down, but he keeps getting back up, and makes no difference when he's on his game in the race car. He's the man to beat. And certainly, I think, again, assuming that this isn't a more serious injury than what it sounds like, status might be up in the air for a couple of weeks, but still, I think thoroughly a championship favorite. And if it comes to him having to sit out a week or two, I would imagine a medical waiver will be granted once again.
It's wild, Ben. He kind of reminds me of Davey in little ways like that. Now that you mention it, just that overall positivity too. That's something that Davey kept even when he was bloodshot. He was still smiling with the press. Yeah. It's crazy.
All right, one more stat on SVG here, and then we'll move on. Denver, one of our regulars. I did some research yesterday. SVG has 89 road course wins in Supercars, Xfinity, and Cup combined. 11 more wins to be the first driver in the world to reach 100 road course wins in stock car / sedan racing. Well, there you go. I don't have that stat off the top of my head. I would imagine SVG is getting close there to that 100 mark, but I'll trust you there. Denver didn't even think of it that way. Obviously, the overwhelming majority of like Petty and Pearson's win totals would have come on ovals there. So there you go. That's a milestone. But at the rate SVG is going, he might reach as early as, 2027, maybe even earlier. I don't know how many Xfinity races he's going to keep doing, or if he's going to get in a truck at all. But that's been part of the conversation this week too. Like, do we have too many road courses right now? And I think, listening to Jeff Gluck, I think Jeff kind of went too far in the opposite direction here. I think when we had only two, I think we were complaining about how we don't have enough road courses. The road courses, of course, were putting on better racing at the time in the Cup Series, but I think 4 is kind of where I would land, somewhere in the middle between the 6 we have now and the 2 that we used to have. I say you keep Sonoma and the Glen. You have an international race like Mexico, or I know they've been trying to get Montreal back on the schedule for a while, and then you have your street race. And if you can't get the international race over street race because those are a little bit harder logistically, maybe you can have Coda on standby as the 4th one there. But I think beyond that, yeah, I mean, especially in the next gen era here, I think 6 is starting to get to be a lot. And I'm not just saying that because SVG is dominant right now, more power to him, but it is something to think about for the future.
Yeah, and you think about it, 2018 Charlotte Roval was the kind of the catalyst to where we are today. It was, you know, let's try something new, and all we had was Sonoma and Watkins Glen. And then nowadays we talk about just you can't be a successful driver if you can't turn right and left.
Yeah, but the reason
it's such an integral part of it now.
Exactly, but the reason that they did that was because they wanted new road courses now, and they had contracts existing with each of the tracks on the schedule. There was no room to add a new road course race that quickly. So they said, well, Charlotte has an infield road course. Let's just make sure that's fully upgraded to be able to host a Cup Series race, and let's turn the second Charlotte race into that. Well, now we have a new next-gen car, and it seems like intermediates by far are the best track type for that car in terms of the racing it puts on. I would say that that's one right there, but you know, apologies to the fans that like the Roval, but that would be the first one on the chopping block for me, no question. You know, because I think that was a temporary fix. Now that and again, if you want to have 6 road courses, you know, Road America is still sitting right there. You know, why can't we go to, I don't know, Mid Ohio's put on some great races and the lower divisions. There are other road courses that I'm sure would entertain the idea of hosting a Cup Series race. I don't know, but the Roval needs to be one of them.
Did Road America put on a good next-gen race?
I couldn't tell. I mean, it's going back 3 years. I'd have to go back and
so long ago now.
Yeah.
22. And they had one shot at it, right? And then we were gone.
One shot of a next. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like
probably a Chase Elliott win.
Yeah, I think Reddick got one of them. If I recall. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here, but yeah, they had one race in like the 50s or 60s, I think, and then came back in 21, and then obviously their lone next gen race would have been.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We move on now. Like I said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is a tweet from Mike Davis, former co-host of the Dale Jr. Download. It would seem, and this is just me spitballing, a lesson was not learned. Take a wild guess at who Mike Davis might have been talking about right here. I think everybody knows the answer, right?
Bobby Hill.
Not Bobby Hill. There's another Hill. There's actually another Austin Hill.
Austin Hill.
Not Austin J. Hill. The Austin Hill that was suspended.
Yeah.
Following Indianapolis.
That one.
Yes. Feel bad for Austin J. Hill, man. I don't know if you've seen some of his Facebook comments that he's gotten. I think some fans are just searching Austin Hill. Maybe they find his page by mistake. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, you know,
doesn't he have on his door the Austin Hill, the real Austin Hill, the actual Austin
I don't know.
Hill?
Yeah, it's of all the drivers to have this issue with here. This is an unfortunate timing for the young Austin J. Hill trying to break in here on these road course races. Glad to see that he made this race. Of course, I was there at Sonoma when he was the lone DNQ. So good to see him get a little bit of redemption here and a solid top 20 finish. I mean, given the equipment that he's driving, it's a great result for him. But we have to talk about the Austin Hill that drives for RCR, obviously. And again, I think we do have to, because it's the talk of the town right now. And I got to say, I think this is why I told you guys, if you want to do the show Monday, you know, this needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. I was fine to let you guys take it if you so wanted, but I think it's good we don't do these. It's good I'm not on the watch-alongs with our friend Josh Birch and Matthew Owens here. It's good we don't do these recaps the night of these races. because, and again, I'm going to try to remain as professional as I can here. And I'm not going to go like over the top sensationalist or anything here, but I feel like kind of taking a victory lap, because as I followed up with a tweet after the show from 2 weeks ago, yeah, a year-long, 365-day-long suspension would be unprecedented. But in his first race back, to hear Austin Hill in the pre-race show, when asked, does this change how you're going to race others and change what your driving style is going to be? And for him to say absolutely not, for him to, I guess, triple down, quadruple down, I don't know how many times he's stood his ground here on saying that he is innocent and that it was not intentional, when we all saw. And by the way, people making such a big deal about the white gloves, if you slow the video down, you can see his helmet turn as well. He turns his entire helmet, he turns his gloves to the left well after his car has been corrected. I mean, there's no way around it. I'm sorry. It was 110% an intentional right rear hook of Eric Almirola. On Saturday, this particular incident with Michael McDowell, which Michael driving the colleague 11 car, see him ended up down there in 25th. The reason he's not lower is because it took out so many cars with him. The two of them were racing, I believe, for second at the time. And coming out of turn 5, the track limits conversation, I think, brought up again as well this weekend. Certainly not as blatantly intentional of a hook as we saw at Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, but still reckless enough that a driver of Austin Hill's experience and, quite frankly, talent and skill level, I think it's another tragedy in all this, because I think Austin Hill does have talent as a race car driver. We've seen him perform well in this level, in this series. He should know better, particularly when you're under a microscope in your first race back from a suspension that I think the consensus is now overwhelming was not long enough. One race was not harsh enough of a punishment for what he did. And again, I know that if you look at this incident in isolation, you could maybe say it leans on the side of racing incident, but we all know who was primarily at fault here. And again, Austin Hill is not stupid. He should know that this is an area of the track where the spotter's view is limited, that pulling a move like that at such a high speed part of a track is incredibly reckless and incredibly dangerous. And I think it puts NASCAR in a difficult situation here, coming off of what we saw 2 weeks ago. Now, I think last time we got the penalty announcement on Tuesday evening. It's sometimes Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday when these things get announced. I haven't heard anything one way or the other today, so I would assume that at this point, unless we hear something tomorrow, that he's going to be in the clear here for the next race. But it puts NASCAR, I think, in an incredibly difficult situation, because you see people now lobbying for him to be suspended again. I know Matthew Owens on Josh's channel during their watch along said that right away. He should be suspended again. And then Seth Eves, and said what I said last week: 365 days, not a 3-race suspension, not a 5-race suspension, not a suspension for the rest of a year. Suspend him for a calendar year. And I don't think there would be very many broken hearts in our fan base if NASCAR came down and dropped the hammer like that at this moment. So again, that's really all I have to say here. I could continue to spitball for, the next half hour, how I feel about Austin Hill's driving standards, or perhaps lack thereof at this point. But I can't help but feel a little bit of vindication for what I said a couple of weeks ago, because I think it's the overwhelming view in this fan base right now. I think Austin Hill, by a mile, is the least popular driver in the sport right now, and I think he needs to take a serious look in the mirror. Even if we give him the benefit of a doubt, which, by the way, he has absolutely no benefit of a doubt left at this point, because even Indianapolis, was not an isolated incident. We talked about that 2 weeks ago as well. You look at the carnage, you look at the end result. I think they said 16 cars in total, the largest wreck in Xfinity Series history at Watkins Glen. He can't be doing that. And again, even if he doesn't get suspended, even with the loss of all his playoff points and the suspension that he got last week or after the last incident in Indianapolis, rather. Again, Mike Davis hit the nail right on the head. A lesson was not learned, and I think that is objective.
Yeah, I thought you were a little extreme 2 weeks ago, but no more. this silences all the doubters, and you were right to have that stance 2 weeks ago come to as we can see now. Yeah, if this was any other sport, he'd be watching from home for a very long time. So I mean, what makes us any different? I mean, we're auto racing. That's what makes us different. But so I mean, even more responsibility to get him out of the series as soon as possible and for much longer than ever set before. Just full calendar year, and let him come back, and then ask him, "Are you going to drive differently?" Because you can see it in his face. You can see it by the way the gloves, the helmet, and then here at Watkins Glen, the way that he treats Michael McDowell there coming out through the very dangerous chute right there, where you said there's not much spotter activity to see. And also just going for a 0% or very low percentage move there outside of track boundaries, going back into the guardrail. I mean, you're threading the eye of the needle already being in that position. You're not making a pass right there. Just, hold it off, wait till you get into 6 and 7. That's where everybody else makes their pass attempt. I would have been much more, I would have felt more Austin Hill sympathy if he had just dumped him in turn 6 or 7 than try to do something like that, looking back. And really, I'm sad too, because Austin Hill has shown us, Ben, on this show, how talented he is at some of these bigger tracks, and finding a way to get it done. He has been very talented. But yeah, he's going to get someone seriously injured one day if this trend continues. And there's been some close calls here, but I think that's a close call too many. It's time to bench your player and let him be out for a year. Again, it is kind of sad, because I see it kind of feels like it's not from your age group, I guess, a few years younger than me. This is his crash out. For some reason or another, he's crashing out big time right now. And I can't figure out why, but he's a talented driver. I don't know why he's racing like this.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not just the incidents. It's how he's, and we saw it. I brought up the pit road incident with Maya Snyder, and the frankly pathetic notes app apology. Totally crafted. I mean, he didn't even take out the quotation marks. I really shouldn't laugh, because it was
RCRPR like, here, tweet this.
He didn't even. You can't write this stuff. He literally could not write his own stuff. You can't write this stuff. You can't write anything that's happened with this guy over the last several years. Like I said, it is not a one-time incident or a two-time incident on back-to-back weeks. He just. It would be laughable if it weren't so dangerous, and that's the other part of this. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Eric Almirola hit a part of the track that did not have a safer barrier. Michael, I mean, we've seen bad wrecks there before. Michael McDowell's had a bad wreck there before. I think everybody's mind flashed back to 2014 when he was in the Levine car in the Cup Series, and the awful accident he had there. We saw it a few years before that with Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton, and Sam Hornish Jr. That is a part of a track that is very high speed, that has virtually no, that the spotters have virtually no access to. I mean, we're not messing around here. And by the way, even if we had safer barriers, we shouldn't be messing around like that. This is, as we have been reminded, and I certainly want to give my we're getting in the Truck Series segment in just a moment here, but want to send my best to Stuart Friesen. I know you guys have been doing that all throughout the Grid Network shows in the time that I've been away here. Certainly want to echo what everybody's said here. Thank the Lord, Stuart Friesen is not more seriously injured than he was, and we wish him a full and fast recovery, so we can see him back in a truck sooner rather than later. But that was a wake-up call and a reminder to everybody that this is an inherently dangerous sport. And you cannot be playing games like that when you are racing at 180 miles an hour. Not that they were up to that speed coming out of turn 5 at the Glen, but at a track like Indianapolis or anywhere, somebody gets hit at the perfect angle at the wrong way. You just never know. And again, I think I don't expect NASCAR to issue such an unprecedented suspension or punishment, but I have to say I will be, I think at minimum at this point, based on precedent that we've seen in the past, I think he needs to be sat out for the next 3 races. And quite honestly, I'm going to be pretty disappointed if we don't get a penalty report within the next 24 hours or so, because like I said, and again, I should note once again, I've never met or interviewed Austin Hill. I can't speak to how he is, when the cameras aren't rolling, but just from what I have seen over the years as he's made his name in this series, he is easily the most unlikable driver in the sport right now, and it's not particularly close because we've seen it time and time again on the track, off the track, and then his inability to show remorse, how he's reacted, how he responded on the radio to NASCAR 2 weeks ago. It's just I'm reminded of what I think Truex said about Hocevar banging the steering wheel at Phoenix a couple of years ago. It's all just an act. And I'm sick and tired of it. So again,
some of the comments on the comments on the CW video of this wreck are as follows. Austin Hill really said, "Dynaco's all mine." Austin Hill is a joke. That's the most favorited. And the second most favorited is the only thing that unites NASCAR fans is our collective hatred of Austin Hill. That's how the fan base feels on that particular official video.
Yeah,
Emphasize.
Yeah, and again, and I'm sorry for laughing there. The Dynaco's all mine. It's amusing, but it's also not, because that's a kids movie that's referencing, and this is the second highest level of stock car racing in the world. And
Dynaco is all his. He drives for Richard Childress.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the up and up, man. Why are you smashing into people? I don't get it.
Well, to be fair, Brandon, they are just blue collar team, and NASCAR's been known to give them trouble all the time. So that's at least that's what
we got Richmond coming up this weekend. Don't get me started on that.
Oh, don't.
I just unlocked a new gear.
And how poetic was it that Austin Dillon was his replacement for the one race that you really cannot make it up sometimes. It's that's unfortunate, but we will leave it there. We've got more races to cover here, and I hope, and again, I would love nothing more than for Austin Hill to take that look in the mirror and seriously consider the implications of what he's done and change his ways. And if he's willing to show a serious commitment to that, I think we've seen it with other individuals in this sport in the past. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some hard work and genuine effort, but I don't think it's beyond the point of no return yet. If he continues going like this, then maybe he gets to that point. But he's down to his last strike. To use a baseball analogy there. Let's put it that way.
Please don't hurt anybody, please.
Exactly.
Just change it now.
Yeah, in or out of the race car, because we've seen that again as well. All right, finally, let's move on now to we had 2 more races. 2 more races to recap here at Watkins Glen. We start with the Truck Series racing again, much like Connor Zilisch. No surprise up front, Corey Heim taking the win here. Once again, did have a little bit of competition, though, from his teammate Gio Ruggiero and Christopher Bell. Welcome back to the Truck Series, the former champion there, filling in for Stuart Friesen, who, of course, like I said, we want to continue to send our best to as he recovers from his terrifying dirt track racing incident there. Certainly wishing him the best. But for Corey Heim, an interesting stat that I noticed, Brandon, his 4th straight win in this series on a road course, that is very similar to what SVG is doing now in the NASCAR Cup Series. So again, the silly season rumors are heating up. We'll get into this here in a moment. We're kind of having an in-season silly season right now in this particular series, but what more can you say about Corey Heim at this point that hasn't already been said when it comes to the talent that this young man has, and that he's showing this year with Tricon.
See, in the playoffs, there's really not much more I can say about Corey Heim. He's getting ready for the playoffs, and so am I. I cannot wait to see how it shakes up here in the Craftsman Truck Series. There's really not much more we can say about it. Corey Heim, and it's been a season of dominance. Again, this season of dominance in motorsports in general is just continuing all throughout 2025. We'll look back at this year and see, not just for Formula One, where it usually is, but just all across the board. It's just been a season of dominance.
Yeah, and just looking at his stats here, those 4 wins, Mid-Ohio in 23, Coda last year, and then this year, Lime Rock Park and Watkins Glen. So you can even say 4 race wins at 4 different tracks. And Truck Series is going to be visiting the Roval for the first time in the playoffs. So that is going to be a golden opportunity, I think, for Corey Heim to solidify his spot in the Championship 4. And again, much like Christian Eckes last year, who I think already has kind of seen that incredible season of consistency be lost in the memories of a lot of race fans. I hope that he goes out and can win Phoenix, or at least, again, be the highest finishing Championship 4 driver, assuming he gets there. Obviously, you've also got Talladega and Martinsville in that round, which, if he doesn't win the Roval race, could play wild card. I mean, even with as many playoff points as he's going to have. But he is far and away putting together one of the most historically, transcendentally great seasons we've ever seen, not just in the Truck Series, but in, I would say, the modern era of all 3 NASCAR National Touring divisions. So, again,
That's
a
right.
guy that I think should be racing on Sundays, probably should be racing on Sundays now, if we're being honest. But certainly hope that one of those silly season puzzle pieces falls into his place for 2026, because he certainly is showing that he's talented enough that it's warranted.
And he probably will spoil the Charlotte Roval playoff race, but here's hoping he doesn't, because I think the slower you can get the speeds at the Charlotte Roval, the better the racing is, compared to seeing some other things virtually race it, like the MX-5s and things like that. So I think the trucks might give us a really good show there at Charlotte on the Roval configuration.
All right. Well, one more note from the Truck Series. Again, I know you guys talked about it on the show last week. I did try to tune in for as much of it as I could, even though it was after midnight my time over in the UK. But again, you guys did a great job last week. But Andres Perez now with Nice Motorsports obviously being in the news, releasing Caden Honeycutt. Honeycutt is driving for Young Motorsports this weekend. You see him down there in 34th place. So unfortunate for him that Watkins Glen didn't go his way, but he's going to be filling in for Stuart Friesen the rest of the year. And of course, that has interesting playoff implications with the Owners' Championship and everything from what Friesen did earlier this year. But Andres Perez is now moving from the Spire team over to that Nice Motorsports truck. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts on what that's going to do for this young driver for the rest of the season?
It's gonna be good for him. I'm glad they got their driver set up, and looking forward to see what he can do in that sort of equipment. He's a good kid, Andres Perez.
Yeah, obviously Andres Perez, the ARCA champion from last year. I think it's kind of been unfortunate. Spire's Truck Series program has been kind of up and down depending on who's been in those trucks. Obviously, we've had some success, but for Perez, again, just looking at his stats here, only 2 top 10s the entire year. And I think we saw in ARCA last year when he was driving the Rev car, he came close to winning a couple times. Obviously, we talk about on the show all the time how dominant just 1 or 2 cars in that series can be. Didn't quite break through and join victory lane, but came very close to it and show that he does have a lot of talent. I think is deserving of the opportunity to race the Truck Series. And we'll see what he can do in Manish truck for these final 7 or 8 races or so to close out the year. But, a good opportunity for him to show what he can do at another team. And we'll see if he can make the most of it and continue to work his way up the leaderboard a little bit. Because, again, I don't think 21st is necessarily indicative of his potential that he has given the right opportunity in the series. So we'll see if that is the case for him over at Nice a little bit more than it might have been over at Spire. All right, well, speaking of ARCA, let's transition over to the ARCA Menards Series and want to say congratulations to Tristan McKeen, the second youngest winner in ARCA history, only 5 days after his 15th birthday. The second driver born in the 2010s to win an ARCA sanctioned race. Certainly making the two of us feel a little bit old there, Brandon, I think. But looked like it was going to be another runaway win for the 18 team. Brent Cruz had some electrical voltage issues there in the closing stages after dominating much of the race. But again, Brandon, what's your reaction to another driver born in the 2010s decade already in victory lane in the ARCA platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine with me. It's part of life. But yeah, Watkins Glen seems to have a way here as of late to bring out these first-time winners and these young winners. Think of Connor Zilisch and all his success he's had here, which is still going on in the Finger Lakes of New York. Am I saying that right? The Finger Lakes?
Sure.
Or is that somewhere else? Well, anyway, upstate New York, Watkins Glen. So yeah, it's great to see a first-time winner, fresh face, and 18 years old. 18 years old.
15 years old.
15. Wow,
yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, 2025 minus 2010 is 15. So
there you go.
Minus 15, I should say, is 2010. That puts him born in that decade, which again, kind of surreal to me. I just can't believe 2010 was 15 years ago. That's the scary part to me here. But the
math feels like it sometimes.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it in some ways, but in others it also feels like it can't possibly have been that long ago, right? But yeah. I guess it depends on your mood for the day or how you're viewing time in that perspective. But not to get too philosophical here, let's just wish the young man congratulations on his win. And I'll save this for the one shining moment as well. But good to see Dale Quarterly still out there at the complete opposite end of the age spectrum, over 4 times as much life experience with Quarterly in his mid-60s, still out there.
And that's the beauty of the ARCA Menards Series.
It is. It absolutely is. And again, I'll save that for a little bit later in the show. But good to see him have a good run there as well. Looking for Brendan Queen. Unfortunate result for him as well. He fell to the back of the pack early in the race. But again, I think his championship buffer is enough at this point that he can afford to have a mulligan or two. So we'll keep our eye on the title battle as it continues on for the rest of the season. But in the meantime, we had another ARCA race this weekend as well, Tri-City Raceway, the ARCA Menards Series West, and another familiar face there, Greg Biffle, getting back behind the wheel there for the second year in a row. But want to give the Biff is back. But want to give a congratulations to Kyle Keller finally breaking through after coming so close so many times, so many runner-up finishes in the ARCA West Series, scoring that win. I had the pleasure of meeting and interviewing Kyle at Sonoma last month, and just could tell that it was a matter of when, not if, assuming the cards fell his way. And they certainly did this weekend. Obviously, a great battle with Jake Bowman, who was the pole sitter. And again, Greg Biffle's on the NASCAR Hall of Fame ballot right there. So be able to say you went head to head with him and came out on top has to be pretty special as well. So despite the fact that there were only 12 cars, which is unfortunate, I know, but the main ARCA series has been doing better with car count. Hope to be able to see that more often for the West Series as well. But still, nonetheless, worthy of congratulations for Kyle Keller. And might not be the last time we see him in victory lane the rest of the season either. And finally, as I mentioned, Joe Samaniego on site at Portland International Raceway once again for us this weekend with the IndyCar Series. We'll take you through the Indy NXT results here real quick as well. The 2 drivers who are now officially the only 2 championship protagonists remaining, Dennis Hauger and Kyle Collette finishing first and second. Lockie Hughes barely hanging on to the top 10 there with a 10th place result, now out of a championship fight. But we'll see how the championship comes down to these last 2 oval races here. Hauger in front, extending his championship lead. I think very fortunate for him that it didn't trend the other way with what I think would be a 20-point swing with Collette taking that win. But just going through some of Joe's notes that he picked up for us at the track this weekend. Kyle Collette also had some experience here at Portland. He raced the Formula E doubleheader there in 2024. Miles Rowe hanging on to a podium, almost took pole position. He said multiple times in interviews with us that he loves the Portland International Raceway in the city of Portland. So sure disappointed not to be able to capitalize on a second race win there, but still a good run for him nonetheless. And quite honestly, maybe has a shot at stealing third place in the championship from Lockie Hughes. Lockie Hughes has kind of fallen off of the form that he was on the start of the season. So if he can't recover and regain that third place rather in the championship, still very much in play for Miles Rowe there. Bryce Aaron, your last place finisher, taken out on lap 1 in the Shelton chicane. And Joe witnessed firsthand. He was very upset when he got out of the car. Haley Deegan down there in 17th. I'm sure we'll talk about that in the next episode of Women in Motorsports, but she's had some mechanical issues come up in practice, so missed some track time there. Struggled all weekend, still looking to find that pace. The Oregon native, Josh Pearson, again, just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Not the best result for him. Snapped a 2-race run, finishing on the podium. And then some rumors going around the paddock. Apparently Juan Manuel Correa, again, right in that top 10 bubble, so to speak, right inside the top 10 in 9th place. Hearing that his future in Indy NXT beyond this year might be uncertain. So a storyline to keep your eye on there as well. Kobe brings up a good point in the chat here, Brandon. I know we don't usually get the opportunity to comment on the IndyCar series on the show, but do you have any thoughts on the on-track feud between Connor Daly and Christian Rasmussen?
Yeah, it was a feud, Kobe, that, as you know, was kind of happening for the entire lap until they got there to I think it's turn 8, the final sweeping corner there before you get to the front stretch on the drag strip. Yeah, Christian Rasmussen has been showing some aggression here, and this isn't the first part of that. But it was very scary for Connor Daly for sure. It's really fortunate that he didn't catch any air and went up into the fence. That would have been much worse. But it's kind of lame now because IndyCar's not doing anything about it. So if NASCAR does something more with Austin Hill, I'd say count your blessings, because I think something should have been done here with Rasmussen and Connor Daly for sure.
Yeah, I have to say, from what I heard, obviously I wasn't watching the race live, so I can't speak to the incident as it unfolded. I'm sure others have more context from me that we're following a little bit more closely. But if it's as bad as it sounded from Daly's perspective and from the discourse that I've seen on the socials, I've seen some people, certainly even at this network, I think Kobe and Tanner said on wrap up on Sunday that they wouldn't be heartbroken if Rasmussen had to sit out for a week on the IndyCar side of things. So,
yeah.
For there to be no further action taken there, I think is incredibly unfortunate. But especially if it's severe enough that you've got people calling for him to be put in a timeout, as Tanner put it on wrap up.
It was really strange for nothing to be done at all on it. It looks so egregious that it's wild that nothing is happening. And that's really where the outrage is coming from. I think It was like so obvious of a dump.
Yeah,
it's such a high speed too.
Yeah, these are not stock cars.
No.
They do not do well with contact. Obviously, not that the Xfinity cars necessarily do well either, as we've seen the end result of Austin Hill's antics the last two races that he's been in, of course, since he wasn't in one of the last 3. You can't be playing games like that in an IndyCar, and that's pretty much all I'll say on that. All right, let's go back full screen here. One more comment from Nicholas. How do you guys feel about Corey Heim going to Spire next year? I don't believe, unless I've missed something, I think that's still just in the rumor mill. Heavy talk as to what his plans might be. Forgive me if we've gotten any further hints or confirmation on that. I've only seen that in the rumor mill the last couple of days here. But Brandon, we've talked about this before. Sometimes I think one of the reasons Corey Heim is still in the Truck Series is there hasn't necessarily been a place for him at the inn, Toyota, so to speak. Do you think Spire could maybe make a run at him in free agency and try to steal him away from the Toyota camp?
I feel like Corey Heim has too high of a price. I don't think Spire could. I mean, if that, I feel like that would be like the option C, maybe, or option D of the type of rides that Corey Heim is being offered at the moment. I don't think that would be his first choice, and I don't think Spire wants to spend the kind of money that would be required to have someone like Corey Heim put some pen to paper. I don't see that happening. I feel like that would be one of the, well, if this doesn't work and this doesn't work, then I'll drive for Spire. But I could be wrong. That could be very well be a place where he spends a year, gets Rookie of the Year or something, and then goes on to greener pastures. I don't know.
Well, I will say that has been, I think, the biggest criticism of Toyota's driver development program. They're very good at finding young talent. They have not been very good at maintaining young talent and actually developing them into drivers that can set foot in one of their Cup Series cars and be championship contenders. You know, not to say that there aren't exceptions to that. Obviously, we've seen Christopher Bell come up through the ranks and stay with the Toyota family, and now he's very successful Cup Series driver. But yeah, I mean, the amount of the ratio of stories like that compared to stories like, I think it's easy to forget, Todd Gilliland, Harrison Burton were Kyle Busch Motorsports teammates at a time. And, their Cup Series careers ultimately started with different manufacturers. If Toyota loses Corey Heim, though, with the talent that he's showing, I think that's certainly going to sting. So we'll keep our eye on that. But again, I don't really care who it's with. I think he should be racing on Sundays at this point next year. And if it has to be with Spire, then I think that maybe gives him, could maybe be a springboard, like you were mentioning, Brandon, to maybe going on to even bigger and better things, beyond maybe a 1 or 2 year deal there. All right. And one more comment from Adam. Good to see Adam. It was great to see, awesome to see, rather, Greg Biffle back in the ARCA West Series at Tri-City Raceway. Couldn't agree more. I think it's great for the series when you see one-offs like that, like we saw Kevin Harvick do a couple of times in the mid to late 2010s, and what Biffle's done the last couple of years. Brings some more spotlight to that series. I think that's great to see. All right, well, on that note, speaking of great things, Brandon, what was your one shining moment from what we saw this weekend in the world of motorsports?
I've got to tip my hat to the number 12 Verizon Team Penske of Will Power at Portland, turning his season around and fixing up what's been the worst season for Team Penske in the NTT IndyCar Series since 1999, when they went winless. And his future is still up in the air for next year with 2 races left in the season. So still not, even though you win here at Portland, I don't know if the writing is already on the wall behind the scenes, and he already, it felt like to me, the way that he was interviewed at the end, Will Power, that he kind of knew. He was talking about, I'm thankful for being able to win for the Verizon guys and Penske. It sounded like he already knew something that we don't know, but I certainly hope not. There is a quote, though, that he said that IndyCar put up for him. If you're a team and wanting to know if I'm good enough, I don't know what you're thinking. If you're thinking, I'm not sure if this guy is good enough, just go back to last year and you'll explicitive no. Well, you could also, I think, go back to Portland here and see how he dominated that race outside of pit cycles and was able to keep Christian Lundgaard and Alex Palou, the now 4-time champion, at bay when they were just pigs in a blanket and having to conserve his tires. He's still got it behind the wheel. And I remember you having to defend his honor last year whenever this subject came up. And it was kind of the early stages of this talk. I think it's kept going, especially with the whirlwind that Penske has had this season. But the man still has it. That's for certain. So Will Power gets my one shining moment by a mile.
Yeah, Power's a good one. Alex Palou, I mean, again, what more can you say about the dominance that he's shown, clinching at 2 races early this year, the championship, that is. And yeah, I mean, there's really, you run out of words, run out of superlatives for the run that he's been on.
And we have.
Yeah.
we actually have.
But again, I think David Lamb was making this point as well. Will Power is the last guy to win a championship not named Alex. I mean, he is.
True.
His championship in 2022. It's the only year out of the last 5 that Alex Palou hasn't been the champion, and he showed it once again this weekend. He hasn't forgotten how to win. He hasn't forgotten how to be competitive in this series, even, in his 40s now. He's still as sharp as he ever was. And again, even if his run with Penske is over, and I know people were kind of overanalyzing the grammar. I think he said, like, I've had a great run with Penske, and people were saying,
all past tense, wasn't it?
Does the had mean anything? Does he know something we don't, like you were saying, Brandon? We'll see if there's anything that comes of that there. But if it's not with Penske, I imagine somebody in the IndyCar paddock is going to be have his number on speed dial and be interested in his services for 2026 and even beyond, because I think he's shown no signs of slowing down, despite what our friend Jackson Lambros said at the beginning of last year. I think Power's still got quite a bit left in the tank as an IndyCar Series driver. All right, and of course I hinted at it already, but again, we talked about what Tristan McKeen did. We'll pull the ARCA results back up for you one more time. Again, I mean, Brandon, you mentioned it. It's the beauty of the ARCA Menards Series. You have the drivers who are so young, you can't believe they're old enough they aren't old enough to drive a road car on the streets legally or get a driver's license, but they're old enough to compete and win at the ARCA platform. And then you also have the older veterans who are out there because this is what they just love to do. And that's Dale Quarterly at the other end of that spectrum there. And great to see him pick up another top five. And I say another top five because he's made this a regular thing for him over the last few years. He still knows how to get the job done on the road courses, and that team only comes out a few times a year to do these races, but is willing to travel to both coasts to get the job done. We saw him at Sonoma. We see him on the other side of the country here at Lime Rock and at Watkins Glen, and good things happening for good people over there at that team. Congratulations to Dale Quarterly on another top five finish in the ARCA Menards Series. All right, that's going to be our show for this evening. So thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Encore show. Be sure to follow us at Grid Network TV on all our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky. Whatever microblogging platform you're using these days, we are on all three of them. Also check out our Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. It helps us out a lot. And visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Now, if you really liked what you saw this evening, you can take a few minutes after the show to invest in our Patreon. Join Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in investing in the Grid Network to help us expand our coverage throughout 2025 and beyond. If you liked what you saw from Joe Samaniego and Nicole Fry this weekend at Portland, you want to make that a more regular thing as well. This goes a long way towards helping us pay the bills to get us to the track on a more regular basis, and that will only continue to expand our coverage for you, the viewers. You can also become a regular contributor to us through the YouTube membership program, or if you're watching us on YouTube, of course, you'd rather make a one-time contribution instead. We have super chats and super thanks enabled as well as buy me a coffee in the description box below, so you can check out those links as well. Now, taking a look at our upcoming schedule, don't miss Grid Tonight tomorrow. It's a Tuesday Encore show here for us, so I can say that. Kobe Lambeth, Josh Birch, and Matt White will bring you all the latest motorsports news, and presumably, if there is any update on the Austin Hill situation, if NASCAR takes further action, I'm sure Josh and Matt will be all over that tomorrow as well. If not, of course, we'll maybe address it the next time something happens on track that involves that 21 car here on the Encore show. But stay tuned for that either way. Our new NASCAR pre-race show format continues. We'll be at Richmond this weekend, so Saturday night race going to be a little bit of a different schedule for wrap-up as well, with not as much going on this weekend, but stay tuned for Grid Live all throughout the weekend on the wrap-up side of things as well. Women in Motorsports will hopefully be back sooner rather than later, so stay tuned to our social media pages for an update on when that program might be airing a new episode. And then, of course, we will see you on, do the quick math in my head here, is it 143-hour break this time because we subtract 24 from the 167. There you go. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Well, you may have heard the viral bluegrass song, The Rich Man from Richmond, or whatever it is, that one
Richmond,
guy that
north of Richmond, I think.
Yeah, that north of Richmond that made it big. Well, we got some rich men coming to Richmond Raceway this coming weekend, and I'm excited as all get out that we're back under the lights. I work the way it ought to be there at Richmond, and also it helps me forget that not all the grandstands are there anymore. So turn the light, put the lights on where I can't see the background, and I'm a happy camper, and ready to see some tippers flare, but not some dumps that we have to talk about for the entire next week. So let's keep it short track cordial.
Yeah, hopefully a better ending than we got last year in the Cup Series.
Right.
We can all hope and pray for that. I have not gotten a chance to mention this again. I think I've only been on the air once since the in-season challenge wrapped up, but I want to say thank you to Ty Dillon because he gave us something to talk about. And I would say I wasn't quite as extreme as I got to hear Matthew's colleague rant last week. And again, one more thank you to Matthew for filling in for me while I was in the UK. But I will say, despite any personal feelings that either of us may have had towards what's the point of the in-season challenge here, Ty Dillon almost made the glass slipper fit all the way to the end, making an improbable run as the 32 seed who barely got in to the in-season challenge to begin with, making it all the way to the final, came up just short versus Ty Gibbs. But I also want to say on that note, and Ty Gibbs has taken some heat for some of his radio messages and his performance this weekend at Watkins Glen, but I thought it was very classy that he announced that he was planning to donate $10,000 to a charity of Ty Dillon's choice that will hopefully go to a good cause there. So again, very classy move, I think, on Ty Gibbs's part, being able to acknowledge the improbable run that Ty Dillon made. And maybe it'll be a morale boost for everybody at Colleague as well. I see we just signed DraftKings on to sponsor Ty for a couple of races to close out the year. So we'll see if they can kind of right that ship. As Matthew was mentioning, I think we were all in the colleague bandwagon a few years ago, and that progress has kind of stalled out a little bit. The Xfinity program nowhere near as strong as they used to be, and maybe that was to be expected a little bit as they've tried to get their Cup program off the ground. But we'll see if they can take some of that momentum and continue to build on that throughout the rest of 2025. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you back on a regular schedule. Hopefully it stays that way. I'm still jet lagged out of my mind. But thank you all for sticking with us through all my travels, and apologies again for being in and out this summer. Hopefully the first of many, many Monday night shows at a regular time slot in a row to close out the year starting next week. We'll see you then. Have a good one, everybody.